A very good evening to all of you. So, must be feeling quite refreshed after the easiest test of the season. All of you kindly punch in yes or welcome or whatever, so that I'm very confident of your presence here. All right. So to start with, in fact, the day began on a positive note. First of all, SNAP results were out and India drew the fourth test at Sydney. So most of you must have felt quite positive, right, getting this result, because at one stage it appeared that India would lose this test. And inside the examination hall also, when you begin the test, so probably GK section was the most difficult one, and as one of my colleagues put it, so this was the section which more or less decided your fate in this examination, because most of the good students who were prepared would score close to 30 to 31 in quantitative aptitude, and most of the prepared students would again score in the range 24 to 25 in English. So those people who will score better in GK will score more than others overall. Do you agree that GK was the decider? And please keep one thing in mind, and in fact I have seen lots of posts on different social networks, and many people are worried about a couple of questions not appearing in their test. So please keep that in mind, that like last year, this year also different sets of questions were used for different people. And then in fact, most of the people at the same center, they more or less got the same set of questions, but people at different centers, they got different sets. And when I say different sets, it does not mean that all the questions were completely different, but close to 20 to 25% of the questions were certainly different. All right. So this was the shortest test among all the management entrance examinations. And in fact, if you ignore IRMA, which is not a full test, because 80% of the weight is given to your CAT score and only 20% to that general awareness section, if I compare this test with other tests, I'm talking about only complete tests with all the sections. This is the shortest test because the duration is only of 100 minutes. Not only that, this is the only test, and repeat, this is the only test among all the management entrance examinations which can be finished in time. Do you agree? Is there any other examination, even that, when you can do all the questions in the given 2.5 hours? But here, all the students could generally attempt each one of the 100 questions in fact less than 100 minutes. So, and apart from NMAT, this is the only test which has no negative marking. So when it comes to number of attempts in any section or number of attempts overall also, that has to be, and in fact, you must have attempted all 95 questions. I assume that no one committed the blunder of not attempting those questions on which they didn't have any awareness. People have to attempt 95 out of 95. So needless to say, all of you, most of you, I assume, since you appeared for the test, so you're aware of the breakup, that there were 95 questions worth 100 marks. And in fact, there were 5 reading comprehension questions which carried 2 marks each. Otherwise, in rest of the aspects, this year's test was a replica of last test net. And in fact, as I said, that GK was the section which decided the fate for all of you, because that is the section which will ultimately impact your overall score. Because in the remaining 2 sections, most of the good students, they would be almost at the same level. So whoever takes the lead in GK will take overall lead. So there were many quiz type questions in GK, like one of the questions was good enough to be put in KBC. It might have been probably a 3 crore question or even a 7 crore question. That which Indian president participated in Irish independence movement? Of course, the answer is V.V. Giri, but yeah, I mean, I sound knowledgeable only from the hindsight, because I marked a different answer while appearing for the test, but when I came here, one of my colleagues showed that the answer is V.V. Giri. Similarly, despite having some fair amount of command over general knowledge, I realized that there were a couple of questions in GK which I hadn't even heard of, like this Cherav dance from Mizoram. All right. So now let's come to the sections one by one. But overall, I would say that the difficulty level, structure, almost everything related to this test, right, almost remained the same in comparison with last test net. Now look at this slide. Am I audible to all of you? Please confirm again, because I somehow do not have the confidence if I'm audible to all of you. Please punch in your responses by just writing yes, or I'm feeling good, or whatever you feel like writing. I've got just a couple of responses. I request all of you to punch in your response to this, whether I'm audible to you or not. I've read this yes only from two people, Isha and Avishkar. Is there no one else here? All right. So, on all things here on the slide, I'm sure all of you are aware of this, that when you look at MN, HRM and LR, total number of seats is 60, and you're aware of the structure of the overall entrance process also. Like test net is of 100 marks, and pre-interview test, that is PIT. This PIT can be either GD or an essay, right, is of 50 marks, and personal interview would be of 75 marks. In all, the total entrance is of 225 marks. And you're aware of the weights given to different sections in the final selection. Incidentally, and interestingly, two best institutes in India, at least two institutes which are considered to be the best for HRM, are XLRI and TISS net. Exactly 6 days back, you had this XAT, which is the entrance for your admission in XLRI, and today, just 6 days down the line, you have this TISS entrance. So moving to the next slide now. If you look at mathematical and logical reasoning question, and in fact, here, while going through the analysis of last year and looking at the questions this year, I somehow felt that had I not made any changes to last year's analysis, the entire breakup of questions would have remained more or less the same. So, and take all this breakup with a pinch of salt, because the fact is, as I told you earlier also, that different people might have got different sets of questions. And when I say different sets of questions, that does not necessarily mean that both the sets would be disjoint. 70 to 80% of the questions remain the same. So for the last 2 or 3 years, we have seen that permutation and combination would have close to 5 questions. And this time I would say that the difficulty level of PNC questions was from easy to moderate, except for one question. There was this question which appeared in the set of many of us. And this question talked about 4 digits, and they asked you that how many numbers, how many even numbers could be created with the help of those 4 digits without any repetition. Many people, they kept looking for only 4-digit numbers. People completely forgot that even without repetition, with 4 digits you could create, or you could have created 3-digit numbers, 2-digit numbers, and a single-digit numbers as well. And here I must say that there were at least 2 questions. There were at least 2 questions in my set where all the options were incorrect. There was one question which was based on time, speed, and distance, where 2 trains were approaching each other from different stations A and B, and ultimately they meet. And in fact, speeds were given as 65 and 60 km per hour, and the right answer had to be 13 kilometers from point A. But there was absolutely no option which mentioned 13. There was absolutely no option which mentioned 13. The nearest answer was 12. So many people marked that as the answer. It appears that there is some technical snag. I changed the slide, but the slide was not visible to any of you because slide, as Avishkar has written, that slide is just showing TISS 2015 analysis. So just give me a minute and it should be all right. Just bear with us. Am I audible now? Am I audible to all of you? And in fact, there was this technical glitch. So that has been rectified, and I hope that all the slides are visible to all of you. And again, I require a bit of support from you. If you do not punch in yes, so I start feeling diffident, not only of myself, but of this system also. So very quickly punch in yes. Am I audible to you? Can you see the slides? If I change the slides, can you see this score accepted TISS NET etc.? All right. So we'll repeat the discussion on this slide. So of course, all of us, we are aware of that, and when it comes to MA and HRM, total number of seats is 60. And these are the breakups like TISS NET is of 100 marks, P-interview test, which can be either an essay or a group discussion, is of 50 marks, and personal interviews of 75 marks. The entire entrance is of 225 marks. All right, and the different weights attached to these three stages is TISS NET is given 50% weight, pre-interview test is given 20% weight, and personal interview is given 30% weight. And whatever 3 or 4 points we have put here, just go through them very quickly. All right. And before that, I was telling you that most of the students who are well prepared, their total scores in quantitative aptitude and English put together would remain more or less at the same level. So ultimately, those people who perform better in general knowledge, right, will ultimately clinch it. Are you with me on this? All right. So, and then another point which I made, that after the most difficult season, after the most difficult test of the season, which was anxiety, which was conducted on 4th of January, just 6 days down the line, you got the easiest test. This is the only test among all the mandatory entrance examinations where you could finish all the 95 questions in the given 100 minutes. In fact, many people, they took much less than 100 minutes to finish all the questions, all the 95 questions. So moving on to our analysis of individual sections now. So let's look at the structure of mathematical and logical reasoning questions. So the structure remained the same. There were 35 questions, worth 35 marks. Again, there were a good number of questions, close to 5 to 6 questions from permutation and combination. And again, 3 to 4 questions from set theory. And please take our statements related to the breakup with a pinch of salt, because different people got different sets of questions, or different people might have got different sets of questions, should I say. So most of these questions, most of these 35 questions, they were doable. Of course, there were at least 2 questions which were erroneous. There was one question based on some 4-digit numbers. There was a question which was based on 4-digit numbers, and all the 4-digit numbers had to be divisible by 15. There was absolutely no way in which these numbers could be divisible by 15, because some of the digits was coming out to be 19. So even if the last digit, the rightmost digit is put as 5, the number was not going to be divisible by 15. The scores are not going to be normalized. Anirudh Bhatotia has asked this question, if the scores are going to be normalized. So here in TISS NET, they do not normalize the scores. All right. So at the most, there were 2 tricky questions in quantitative aptitude, and there were 2 incorrect questions, at least in my set. So I would say, and I assume, looking at the way most of these test-taking bodies, they create the questions, right? I would say that most of the people might have got 1 or 2 incorrect questions, plus 2 tricky questions maybe. So out of the remaining 31 questions, those people who stand a chance ultimately will have to do almost all the questions and will have to score in the range 29 to 31. So Anirudh Bhatotia is asking me that this divisible by 15 question, which was erroneous, it was there in his paper. So would he be scored out of only 99? We do not know. Most of these test-taking bodies, they do not even concede that they commit errors, right? And what exactly they do with the erroneous questions, be it CAT or anxiety or any other examination taking body, we do not know. We do not know. They claim something else, but most of the time, I personally feel, or we here at CL Educate Limited feel, that they hardly do anything about this, and not only that they hardly do anything about this, they do not even bother. In fact, this year, as you might have realized, that Gautam Puri, who is popularly known as GP, has taken a stand also, and in fact, he is doing certain things related to unaccountability of these test-taking bodies. So you might join him. All right. So moving on to, so again, my last line for mathematics section would be that one needed to score in the range 29 to 31 in order to stand a real chance in this examination. So come to English. So again, the structure, 30 questions, 35 marks, all the reading comprehension questions being 2 markers, everything was a replica of the last test net. But overall, when it comes to level of difficulty, so I would say that difficulty level definitely went northward. So if you allow me to quantify it, I would say the difficulty level of English section of this test net was close to 10 to 15 or maybe 20% above that of the last one. Because last year reading comprehension had close to 450 words to read, and not only that, that was shorter in length. This year you had close to 570 to 600 words to read. So that was an easy read, and this time most of the people, they found this RC passage to be slightly difficult. So parajumble questions were very tricky. In our opinion, of the 5 parajumble questions which most of the people got in the set, right? At least 2 to 3 of them were tricky. Half the questions based on vocab were again tricky. And when it comes to analogy, there were at least 2 very abstract or vague questions. So of 35, even if one is able to score 23 to 24, we would consider that to be good. So ultimately, one needed to score 29 to 31 in quantitative aptitude and in the range 23 to 24 in English. Now, when it comes to general awareness also, so the difficulty level again went northward. So last year, if we somehow felt that getting a score of 15, 16 could be considered good, this year I think if someone scores 14 to 16, that would be quite good. And in fact, one of the reasons why the difficulty level is high, that most of the students who prepare for MBA entrance examinations, they at the most keep in touch with current affairs. And when you look at the total number of questions from current affairs, it was hardly 5 to 6. In certain set 7 as well. So with preponderance of questions which were from static general knowledge, and especially on Indian history, Indian and world history, art and culture, so it becomes very difficult for people to touch a score like 20. And in fact, I would say that in this section, for most of the aspirants, 20 would be a dream score. So now, if we compare this test net with the last one, I would say that the difficulty level in English was tougher in comparison with last year. Quantitative aptitude, the difficulty level remained more or less the same. And in GK, it was again tougher in comparison with last year. And in fact, you hardly got any questions from economics or even geography. So overall, keeping all these 3 sections together, the difficulty level was definitely higher than that of last year. So we feel that for getting a call for the HRM program, MA in HRM and LR of Tata Institute of Social Sciences, people in general category would need to score close to 70. People who are in OBC category, they will need to score 63. People in SC category will need to score 55. For STs, it would be 50. For PWDs, 58. And for Kashmiri migrants, it would be 65. So we wish all the students, and if you look at the overall picture, whatever I've told you in the last 15 to 20 minutes, so this is the gist. In general awareness, number of questions 30, difficulty level easy to moderate, possible score 14 to 16. In English, number of questions 35, difficulty level easy to moderate, possible score 23 to 24. In mathematical and logical reasoning, total number of questions 35, level of difficulty easy as usual, and possible score 29 to 31. And these two, and in fact, especially this 29 to 31 was the most crucial part. It was like playing the fifth bowler in cricket. If you lose any mark out of this 29 to 31 in order to get the same mark either in English and especially in general awareness is going to be an uphill task for you. So overall, 100 questions, level of difficulty easy to moderate, and at a score of 70 to 72, in general category, one should be able to get a call from MA in HRM. So that is all what we feel about this, and please keep this in mind that the notification for Maharashtra CET is already out. And then another thing, we shall be putting all the memory-based questions. We shall be putting all the memory-based questions of TISS NET'15 on our site on Monday. On Monday by around 1 in the afternoon, all the memory-based questions should be there. You can punch in your responses and can calculate your scores also. So thank you very much. If you have any query, please punch in your questions. I would answer them and then I would say goodbye. Anirudh Bhatotia is asking me if the safe score to convert should be 5 or 6 above the cutoff, right? More the merrier. If someone gets something like 80 to 81, right, that is of course better. But we have seen people, not only in case of TISS NET, right, but even in case of CAT, that people who are at the bottom of all the students who get calls, even they convert. So even if someone, let's say the cutoff is 71 marks and you get exactly 71 marks, then also you stand a very good chance. As for scoring 5 or 6 above the cutoff, the answer is an obvious yes, of course, more the merrier. It is always better. Any other questions? Any of you? Just for your convenience, the gist of the overall analysis is again being played here. So I'll leave the presentation with this slide only. So wish all of you all the very best. Please do not forget to check your SNAP scores. The result was out at around noon today. And wish you all the very best for all the examinations which you might be writing this year and your results. Thank you very much. And thanks for the patience, and extremely sorry for the technical glitch because of which the presentation was interrupted for close to 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you. Good night.